message across in this highly digitized world is a challenge. You need numerous platforms and highly skilled workers to produce engaging and professional online events. This is why we live. We come alongside you and manage your back-end online event needs, so you can focus on what really matters. Your content. We're ready to amplify and get your message across. Getting your message across in this highly digitized world is a challenge. You need numerous platforms and highly skilled workers to produce engaging and professional online events. This is why we live. We come alongside you and manage your back-end online event needs, so you can focus on what really matters. Your content. We're ready to amplify and get your message across.
Hey there, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Boris Joaquin, and I am your host and moderator for tonight's live roundtable discussion brought to you by Salt and Light Ventures in collaboration with Rappler. And the title of our roundtable discussion is about starting and slaying your side hustle. By the way, this discussion is not limited to me and the guest panelists that we have tonight. So please join in the conversation, and you can do that by actually making a comment, sharing your insights, and just posting your question on the comment thread below because we'll be reading them later and we'll have our guest panelists answer them for you, especially if you have questions about your side hustle on how to get it started and how to sustain it and all those questions that we have that you may have right now during this particular time. This time. Speaking of this time, this are the days that we are confined in our homes. Many Filipinos are venturing into building their own business. And whether you call it a side hustle, a side gig, a sideline, those are the popular terms among Filipinos right now. To put it simple, a side hustle is a source of income that isn't someone's primary occupation. So you're doing it on the side, you're trying to make both ends meet. And it's never easy to run your side hustle, especially if you have a 9 to 5 job. You need to have the right mindset, the ability to prioritize things, and enough preparation before diving in. So tonight's live roundtable discussion will be covering much of that. We at Rappler and Salt and Light, we decided to put together some very helpful tips that would actually allow you to kickstart your brewing ideas to start that side business or to start your own venture and adventure. Here are some steps to start your side hustle properly on top of your full-time jobs. Number one, we believe that you must always begin with a purpose when starting a side hustle. I know 60% or more of people who does this normally begins with the objective of meeting their financial needs to make both ends meet. Di ba yun naman talaga ang dahilan kung bakit tayo nagsa-sideline? Because kulang yung income na kinikita natin from our primary occupation. But a growing segment, according to studies, about 40% or so, are people who's starting their side hustle because they're doing it out of purpose and passion. So why don't you do the same thing? Before you even launch into your side hustle, we recommend that you do a self-assessment. Make sure that you ask yourself some crucial questions like, why am I doing this to begin with? I mean, with all the load that I have with my current job, do I want to burden myself with another? I mean, and if I do this, what do I intend to achieve out of this? What am I supposed to get from this? What purpose am I doing this for? Am I and also the question, am I doing it right? Any side hustle, regardless of your intention, you should always begin with doing it right. I mean, getting it legally established and all that. Second, match your side hustle with your interests and skills. Choose something that you're good at. You have skills which you can reinforce and sell. There's no point selling something that you're bad at. Your side hustle has to be something that requires skills, experience, and knowledge that you already have. Because unlike your regular employment, there is simply no room for a learning curve when it comes to your side hustle. You just have to really kick it in and do your best and make sure it actually comes back to you profitable. Speaking of profit, now point number three, validate your side hustle idea with paying customers. Yes, you heard it right. Are people willing to pay you for it? Test your idea. Test it out with by asking honest feedback from actual paying customers. Listen to your customers. Listen to your customers because they will ultimately become your focus group. So work at network. And I don't know if you know this, but in one of the articles that we read, that we know that the top five side hustles in the Philippines are most likely the following. Those are those people who are selling insurance, financial advisors, insurance agents. Number two are freelancing or consultancies. And the third one would be various businesses from economy sharing, ride sharing, food sharing, deliveries, logistics, buy and sell, items trading, and offering your trade skill services. And there could probably be more blogging. We'll discover more about that when we talk to our panelists as well. Tip number four is identify your goals. Identify your goals in any endeavor, whether side hustle or not. It's hard to track your progress without defining your goal from the get-go. So, for example, how much do you want to earn? How much do you aim to earn? How many customers are ideal? It's very good to actually set goals, setting daily, weekly, and monthly goals where you want to take your side hustle helps you hold yourself accountable and determine whether you are on track. And lastly, number five, create your roadmap. Once you've defined your goals, map out how exactly you plan to get there from launching your side hustle and beyond. So there you have it, just to kick start our discussion. But of course, speaking of roadmap, speaking of guidance, we invited three guest panelists who have been successful in their own hustles because whether your reasons are economic, uncertainty brought about by the global pandemic, or because you have a free time to pursue that ultimate dream that you have to be your own boss, or a little bit, it's a combination of both. One universal truth remains the same: building a business from scratch, from ground up, is never easy. And we all need some guidance. And to give us just that, just exactly that, our panelists. So here are our panelists. To begin with, panelist number one. She is an environmentalist and an entrepreneur. I personally know her as a strong woman of faith. She co-founded Human Nature, one of the largest social enterprises of natural, personal, and home care products in the Philippines. Friends, please welcome Mrs. Anna Meloto-Wilk. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Boris. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
It's good to have you as well. Second panelist, an experienced startup founder in the Philippines who founded Podcast Network Asia. He's also the creator of Chatbox PH and the mind behind the nightlife app Party File. Hustle shares Mr. Ron Baetiong.
What up? Thank you. Thanks for having me tonight. I hope you had a great week, and we're gonna try to get you a little bit more entertained. Not just we're not here for entertainment. We're here to teach you how to side hustle because after the week, now you do your side hustle. So that's what we're here for. Thanks for having me.
Amen. I'm loving the shirt. Loving the shirt.
Gotta represent, Boris. That's what it is.
We need to have a free shirt. Me and Anna should have free shirts.
Okay, I will send it to you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Nice to have you. Lastly, our third panelist is Dae Lee. Dae Lee specializes in company culture design. Is the managing partner of Fourth Wall Branding and Consultancy Incorporated. He's also a teacher. He's an instructor at the University of the Asia and Pacific. And like what I said in one of my emails, one of our founder traders at Sultan Light Ventures. Good evening, Dae.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me also today. And hello to the other panelists. It's the first time meeting you guys, but yeah, glad to be here.
First time to meet one another. Actually, it's my
Yeah,
first
actually.
time to actually meet. It's my first time to meet Ron virtually. We spoke on the
Oh.
phone a month ago. He completed our
Yep.
list, so I'm really glad he's here. So let's start, guys. We're talking about hustling. I mean, side hustling. And the entire idea is that you're fully employed. I just want to know how you guys started. Like, ako personally, I started out as an advertising and marketing executive. Now I'm doing this. I'm doing learning and development. What's your story? Let's start with the ladies first. Anna?
Okay, thanks, Boris. Actually, we have that in common. So, my corporate past life was in advertising and in marketing. So, I was with an agency. I was with an advertising agency, but we were one of the first to really specialize in CRM. So these are the precursors of mga database and internet digital marketing. Before it was like database marketing, it was CRM. But basically, it was really the antithesis of broadcasting, but really customized consumer insighting and moment marketing type of marketing. That's what I did. That was my first career. And then, but even before that, I was also in the development space by virtue of ano naman, family and
How
ano.
Kalinga?
Because of my dad, we were volunteers for Gawad Kalinga. And basically, what I'm doing now, which is, well, most people would recognize it as a social enterprise, but when we started, it wasn't even a buzzword then. We didn't even know what a social enterprise was. But it's a marriage of the founders' corporate experience and also our exposure in development work. So my co-founders and I were all volunteers for GK, but we also had our own corporate past lives. So now we started Human Nature 12 years ago. So it's a brand of Filipino made, and as much as possible, we source local ingredients. These are personal care products, so shampoos, conditioners,
Mhm.
moisturizers, sanitizers, home care products. So what we try to do is really promote that made in the Philippines is world class. And we try to really bring out the idea that business can be a force for good and you can use profits to really address social problems like poverty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember your story. You were in the supermarket. You were with your sister, and you saw some of these personal care products. Tell us about that. What drove you to actually start some of this amazing organic and nature friendly products that you have?
Okay, so my shift from corporate life to entrepreneurship was brought about by, a season, yung life stage. For me, it was getting married and having children. After my second child, it just seemed like I wanted to spend more time with the family, had to have flexibility, but then at the same time, I still wanted to use my experience, and also I was still very passionate about customers, behavior and psychology and all of those kinds of things. So I really wanted to find a way that I could still use my experience and my passion and have some sort of flexibility. And then at that time, I also found myself in the US. My husband and I, we were assigned to work on Gawad Kalinga in the US to kind of get the Filipino American community to also give back to the Philippines. And my exposure there also allowed me to see this growing trend for natural products. And as you said, I saw it in the supermarkets. What used to be a very niche trend was becoming mainstream in the US. So you could see them in supermarkets, you could see them in drugstores. And I knew that it was just a matter of time that it was also going to be in the Philippines, that natural products were no longer just for movie stars. They were not going to be, super expensive, that there was a way to make it affordable and accessible. So that was the germ of the idea, where it came from.
Wonderful. I want to go back more into that because it seems like a passion project initially, and it brought about a huge social enterprise at this point. Let's go to you, Ron.
Hey, sorry, I
I'm a
got
little bit
disconnected.
I'm a little bit torn upon call you Ron or Ronster. I must admit I kind of like Ronster because it reminds me it's like a disc jockey on radio, and I know you have a wonderful backstory on why you are where you are right now. Why did you tell
Right.
us that, Ron?
Okay, so again, either or, whatever floats your boat. You can call me Ron or Ronster. So I started my very first job was to be a telemarketer. So I'm one of those people that would call random Americans to sell them random things. I didn't know that the first account that I was actually getting into was actually a scam. I did not know. I was just an employee. So apologies if I called you, but it wasn't me. It's just the system throwing that. And my story is very simple. After being in a call center and also mastering my communication skills, which is English, I realized that I will never get rich doing the employee path. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not belittling the employee path, but I had a goal in mind, and that goal was to buy my mom a house. So from that point on, I said, all right, if that's the goal, and I don't have any inheritance, and my mom got into huge debt just to try to put me into school as a single mom, and I'm an only child, so the burden is really on me. So I can't f this up technically. So, in that said, I decided to be an entrepreneur. And the first startup that I did was called Party File. It was very close to my heart because that's how Party Ronster was born. So the Ronster name stuck. That's how I got it. And a long story short, that I did that for 6 years. I failed uh, a lot of times, but ultimately in 2016, after doing it for 6 years, it crashed and burned. I lost everything. And then after that, just a few months after, I put up another startup, this time focusing on AI and in NLP. So we make chatbots. Uh, and that said, and after I put that up, 12 months after I launched it, I was very fortunate that I was able to get that acquired in literally 12 months.
Okay.
So through that process, I was finally able to buy my mom a house after all the pain that I had to put myself through. Mostly it's my fault. So again, and that from that point on, I started asking myself, how do I pay it forward? Right? I can't just um, do it in a way where I'm just gonna be about myself and soak everything in. So my mentor, his name is Joji Azurin. So shout out to him. Only said one thing when he started helping me out as a young entrepreneur. He said, if I ever make it successfully, I need to pay it forward, right? So I said, how do I pay it forward sustainably? Because the last thing you want to do is just go to multiple talks and then it doesn't stick. So I created a podcast called Hustle Share, technically, to highlight the stories of Filipino startup founders, because we there's no such thing that's sustainably talking about it. So startup founders and the hustles and the struggles that we have to go through is there. And then I made sure that while I'm still running chatbot, actually till now, um, it was a sustainable side hustle that's able to pay me back, right? Because if I'm gonna do something, it has to. I realized through all of these time, there's so much value for my time that it has to make sense for me financially to be incentivized to keep doing what I'm doing or keep doing what I love. And through that process as well, I stumbled upon a new opportunity, which I created a brand new startup out of it, which is called Podcast Network Asia. So now I'm aside from paying it forward to the startup community, I'm now paying it forward to the budding um, podcast community to help more podcasters. So long story short, after literally 12 months, we put that up. We already have 69 podcasts, 6 million listeners combined in the network, and 2,000 episodes. So it grew exponentially, and I don't even know how I'm doing this realistically, running a podcast and running two startups at the same time. But we'll get into that later. Let's talk to Dae Lee. Ooh.
Shit. Okay. They tell us your story. One thing that you don't have in common with us is your Korean.
Opa. We have an opa.
We have an Oppa. We have a Bay.
There you
That is
go.
called Bay.
Yeah.
How
All right,
are
so
you doing
thank you.
today?
I think more than 10 years, honestly. Yeah, I've been in and out trying to do things different ways, trying to survive. So I guess my story is a bit more different, right? I started hustling, or side hustling, as you would say, because of survival, honestly. So my background is I went back to Korea. No, I mean, I came from Korea, which is I just finished my military service as one of, I guess, one of the people there in the border. And I was sent to the border just because of my English, because I knew how to speak English. So they put me there so that I could communicate with the other soldiers of the different nationalities. So that's where I learned pretty much all the learnings that I have today. The problem there was that a lot of things I did there, I was not able to talk about. So when I was trying to get a job, no one would actually hire me, because in my resume, the only thing that it says there is that, oh, I'm a soldier of the Republic of Korea. That's it. and they're gonna ask, oh, so what's your work experience? I can't really say because yeah, I mean you're bound.
That's fine.
It's not just NDAs.
It's
It's more than
captainry.
That's
NDAs.
It's
fine.
what captainry.
Anyway, we're not talking about that. But yeah, that's what happened. So I couldn't get a decent job, and my what's this? My background and my studies were all over the place. For example, I wanted to go through the route of Anna being a marketer, right, or advertising, but I actually failed. So my degree was actually humanities, and then yeah, I couldn't get anything. So when I went to Korea, I just really studied military science and human psyche and all that. So it's completely different. One is learning about human beings. One is about destroying human beings, right? So we couldn't, trying to put that together. So with all the learnings I had this phase where I just thought of, okay, what are the things that I know right now, and how am I gonna make it have value or give value to people? And that's when it started. When I started trying to do things like, honestly, side hustle. I've pretty much maybe done everything from acting in commercials, television shows, learning deep Tagalog just so I could get into Filipino plays. Different, way different. Like even selling friends stuff, maybe. You could name it. Maybe not illegal stuff, but everything you think of, I pretty much have done it, right? So even making bags, I had this phase where I was making bags. Started learning leather making to make bags to be able to sell those bags, which actually, what I realized that because, for example, I did not have a passion, not like you guys. Like I didn't really have a passion. So what I banked on is what am I going to commit to? Okay, what am I going to commit to? And I realized everything that I did was, in a nutshell, making information simpler for people. So then I realized, I had this sense that, I was really dumb because I failed college and all that. And suddenly I realized, hey, I have this ability to make information simpler for people and to actually explain things to people. That's when I started, okay, maybe I want to become a teacher, right? A teacher. Then the teacher I actually got into, long story short, became a lecturer in a university. Then I started pursuing my further studies, and everything that I learned from the army, apparently, or the things or the different jobs that I had, led to me getting a job as a graphic designer. And from there, I actually shot up to become the learning and development person in the company, which was holding one of the highest positions in the company. Then they said, hey, you know what? You have the skill. Why don't you churn it out and make it a different company? And which we did. And that's how Fourth Wall became a company. And even before that, we had different startups that we put out there, same as Ron. Some got acquired. Some actually is running. The bag company that the bag making company that we made, we give it to someone. So it's somewhat of a social enterprise, like what Anna has mentioned. And yeah, that's it. That's why I'm here. And now I'm full-time teaching corporate at the same time doing research on the side. So that's it.
That's
I
awesome.
love that. Yeah,
That's so
it is.
awesome.
I like it is. It's, well, I didn't know that part about Day. I know about the doing what he's doing right now. I love the diversity of you three. Actually, how your respective backgrounds and how God and circumstances brought you to where you are right now. That's really is amazing, and I want to know more about that. During that course of pursuing something, whether it's podcasting, Ron, or whether it's human nature or teaching, was there ever a point where you realized it's a big aha moment? Okay, this is really what I want to do. They was saying that he really sorted out his skills and he kind of figured out that if I'm good at this, might as well leverage on that. What was there a defining moment or pivotal moment that it's kind of like the kind of like a ray of sunlight ahaing from the sky and telling you, Anna, do this. So was there a moment like that?
No, not really.
Was it a combination of things? Was it a combination, a series of events, unfortunate or
Sorry,
From the,
blessing?
Boris. Wala kaming, well, personally, wala akong eureka moment. I didn't
no,
have it.
I
Eureka
think,
moment.
at least from my end, I would say that a lot of what I do always stemmed back to stuff that I like, right?
Mm.
Mm,
Because, um, I don't know, as an entrepreneur, right? I guess again, totally biased coming from my perspective, but an entrepreneur, one of the biggest things of what makes an entrepreneur tick is being in control of your destiny, right? Without having nobody telling you what to, hey, this is what you're gonna do. I mean, not saying that, because eventually, somehow, some way, a client, your board of directors will guide you through that. But you want to be in control of what those decisions are. Now, those decisions always stem back to what are the stuff that's close to your heart. So again, not all people are blessed with the ability to monetize their passions, right? That's why a lot of
mm,
people also are unfortunately doing something that they don't really love per se, but it brings in the money. Um, but for me, I guess the aha moment is that I always found a way with the stuff that I like. That, oh, okay, so there is money here, right? And again, being an entrepreneur, that's one biggest incentives to keep going, because at the end of the day, I'm also just very fortunate that a lot of the stuff that I like. So things like when I was younger, I loved partying. Apparently, you can make a business out of partying. Who would have thought that, right? And nobody else thought of it. So it's a totally blue ocean. And then all of a sudden, chatbots. My main mo at the end of the day is I love selling whatever it is, not illegal stuff, just the legal stuff. So Day, I'm your Bay. So Ron Bay with Day. There you go. I love selling. So that put me up front into something that's never been done before. Again, being in control of what I'm doing. And again, podcasting comes in so naturally because I do this anyway without being compensated. Might as well make money, right? So those are the things. But again, incentivizing your talents with a little compensation always goes a long way, because that aha moment then becomes a serious thing to be consistent when there's
mm.
incentives to keep going.
Yeah.
I hear you, and I agree. There comes a point that you don't really think it's profitable at the beginning, but then
Mm.
later on it does. I mean, even in the field where Day and I work, Day is younger, but I remember there was a time nobody really pays you to conduct training.
Yeah.
You're to speak in a
Mm-hmm.
conference. You're almost actually grateful to do that, and
Mm-hmm.
now people actually make money out of blogging or how profitable is podcasting now, Ron?
Well, there's no profit here right now. I mean, you'd be lucky to monetize. At the very nascent stages of podcasting, but
Yeah.
we always say that podcasting as it is now is literally YouTube 5 to 6 years ago. We're just getting started. So if you're trying to get in, now's the right time, because there's not too many people going around. And podcasting by default is niche. So what I mean by that is podcasting isn't supposed to be masa where it should be able to please everybody. Podcasting is giving a community a voice. Now, if
Mhm.
you can be the voice of that community, then you can own that vertical, right?
Yeah.
And you can go instead of going wide, you go deep, right? For
Right.
example, so say with teaching, they can be the bay of the corporate teaching, and of course the plantitas of the world can be listening to human nature and all that. Like, sorry, just shout out to my fiance. She's a human nature user, and she's
Oh,
responsible for
yay!
having a plant here. Normally that's not there, but today it made a cameo.
Thanks for the support.
Good job. Good job.
Thanks for the support.
Very nicely put, Ron, which is exactly my point. I mean, podcasting right now, but eventually, 5, 10 years
Correct.
in the future, it might be profitable. Like for you,
Mhm.
Anna, I know you thought it was time to actually introduce the kind of products that you have right now in human
Mm.
nature. But was there a time that you were struggling to actually sell it out there because it's not necessarily mainstream, or the time wasn't right, or was it tama ba yung timing niyo when you launch everything for
Yeah, I
human
mean,
nature?
yes and no, because the timing was right in the sense that the natural trend was starting to pick up and gain momentum, but at the same time, so this was back in 2008, 2009. So people were now starting to eat healthier. They were now checking ingredients, and they were concerned about the food that they ate. So I was like one of the first people to say that it's not just what you put into your body, but what you slather onto like your skin or outside your body that matters, because the biggest organ of your body is your skin. So your skin is a breathing, porous material. So parang whatever you put on the skin gets into your organs, into your heart, into your bloodstream. So in that sense, we kind of caught that wave. And we were just there when it was kind of cresting. So that was really, really good. And no credit to me. Parang it was really down to luck. Or I would say blessing and timing. But at the same time, it was also a struggle because some people, they can romanticize natural products and think, oh, I want to go organic, I want to use this shampoo and whatever, and then once they start using it, ay, bakit hindi mabula, it's not foaming up, or why is this soap not as fragrant as
Fragrant.
your supermarket brand? So they get disappointed and all of that. So it was a bit of an uphill climb in terms of educating people that it's a completely different animal, and you can't expect the same things that you're used to with the synthetic products that you used to um, um, stock in your home with natural products. So that's where the struggle was. Now, we really had to do the hard work of educating people. We didn't benefit from someone else, like our predecessors or a bigger brand making that investment into the market.
Right. So timing is really key then, di ba? You really need to know when's the right time to do this. So what would your advice be, guys, for anybody who's listening right now? And we have a large number who's probably watching and holding on to every word that we're saying. And if they're in their 20s and they're working and they're passionate about something, how do they test that passion if it's something that's going to be profitable? And like, because people are doing balancing acts right now, they're keeping their employment and they're trying to do something else. How is there? I know it's not rocket science, and I know you guys stumble upon some of the things that you're doing right now, like what Anna said, by luck or by how God blessed you along the way. But like, what's your thoughts, Day? How do you measure that? How do
Okay.
you estimate or
Measure.
guesstimate?
Okay. Actually, I would do it by telling my own version of the story that they've said, right? Honestly speaking, I'm completely opposite of them. So I think this is a different perspective from Anna
Yes.
and Ron, right?
Look at how I look like.
Uh,
Look at how you look like. We're
no,
complete
that's
opposite.
different thing. You're Filipino, I'm Korean. That's the different part.
No, you're Opa, I'm
They
Opak.
have chemistry.
Oh, there.
I think we have a chemistry on, but
There you
anyway,
go.
the point here is, of course, I don't know. I'm a millennial, right? So
We're all
every time
millennials. Just kidding.
we're all millennials. Yes, Boris, we're all
Go,
millennials.
Dory. Go,
I'm
Boris.
not.
You
I
can.
think I'm at the border.
And the
Yeah.
question that millennials usually ask is that, am I happy doing what I'm doing, right? And I think I fell into the trap always asking myself every time I do something where my passion is, right? So honestly speaking, my passion was in musical theater before. My passion was in arts, okay? And honestly speaking, it didn't work out, right? So I always ask myself, am I happy with what I'm doing? And then at one point in time, I just went back to the lessons that I've learned in the military and said, you know what? It's not asking how you feel at that moment when you're a soldier, but you always have to ask, what value can you give, right? So that's when I asked myself, okay, with whatever I have, what value can I give? Oh, I can only teach people because that's what I used to do in the military, and give information. But how am I able to do that with my degree and no one is going to actually hire me? So I said, okay, what does it take to actually get myself hired and be one of the best? And this is not exaggerating, trying to be one of the best lecturers in the world. I mean, that was crazy goal, right? Then I said, okay, you need all these degrees, all these things and all that stuff. So I said, okay, why don't I try to just commit to that and say, okay, if this doesn't work, then I shouldn't be living. I mean, it was that harsh, right? I shouldn't be doing anything. So, okay, knowing that I was really bad with things, I said, okay, I'll just commit to learning and learning a certain thing, okay, and being a teacher. So I did that. Whenever I earned money for small lectures or tutoring, I started English tutoring. And the smallest things that I can do, English tutoring, then English tutoring became something else, then suddenly companies, and then all that things. And every time I earned something, I would always put it back. Okay, do I do further studies? I even make it a point like, okay, I'm not just gonna limit myself here. I would buy the ticket with the earnings that I have and go to other schools in other countries and learn from there, and even call other people and say, "Hey, I'm gonna be there at this time. Can you get me a talk?" And I was lying, honestly. I was just gonna book if they said yes,
Yeah.
right? So then that's one of the things. Like for example, I was able to go to Hong Kong and give a talk because of that. I was able to go to Denmark and give a talk because of that. And then just building, building, building. And one day I just said, wow, looking back, I said, wow, I actually achieved all these things. And now people are actually knowing my name, right? Of course, on the side, I'll do, acting, commercial gigs, voiceovers, trying to translate Korean, trying to sing even if I can't. It's a really hard uphill battle. But what I just did was, it's not passion. I didn't like learning. I failed in school, right? But what I did was I just committed. And which brings me to my next venture right now is I'm really bad at math, even if I'm Korean. But right now, I'm going to teach myself to be one of the best math teachers right now. I mean, that's just a fun challenge that I want to do. If that can earn me money, fine. But that's something that I'm looking at. So unlike others, I work on something that's not my passion. I just commit to it and then try to be the best in that field. So that's pretty much the difference, I guess, with you guys and me, right? So at least different perspectives.
Yeah. Well, actually, in so many ways, it's quite similar. I think in many aspects of what we're
Yeah.
doing. Anna, go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know if I gave you the wrong idea. Being an entrepreneur is not something I wanted to do. If it were up to
Yeah.
me, I'd be a librarian. I
Uh-huh.
just read books all day. Actually, I want to be a teacher. I don't like spreadsheets. I don't like numbers, but you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
And I think it was just a function of, I had kids, I had to make
Yeah.
money. And another thing that I realized is that I don't always love everything about what I do, but
Sure.
I lean into aspects of it that I know are my strengths. And there's a level of self awareness also that I know
Mhm.
that I'm really bad at certain things. So I need to be able to kind of find the people to help me in the areas where I'm not good at. But so that's one. But I really love what you said about just committing to something, because that's the only way that you can actually achieve something.
Yeah.
Because it's never gonna be fueled by, oh, I love this, this is my passion, whatever. I mean, there's gonna be 80%, 90% drudgery and just 20% excitement for most
Correct.
of these things.
True.
I, correct. Actually, let me add to what Anna said here. And she said, yeah, you were not supposed to be an entrepreneur if you had a choice. But again, out of necessity, you needed because you had the kids and whatnot. A lot of people in this here, including me personally, um, decided that. But again, you have to be a little crazy to choose entrepreneurship as your default.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of
Yeah.
people would need still a 9 to 5 to get them to what is now. There's this old adage that always said your 9 to 5 is gonna help you survive, and then your 7 to 1 should make you rich, right? And that's the default for a lot. In terms of side hustling, uh, that's that's what it is. It's you have the side hustle out of necessity because it's not every day that you have a good enough paying job that pays for everything that you need, right? And especially as young 20 somethings that like what you mentioned, Boris, you need this. That's your prime. So that's where your body can take a beating. You can sleep 4 hours a day and still be able to do it. So it's the best time to actually side hustle. But I think one thing I just want to add, and it's probably similar to what they did there, is that you need to find something that's worth your time that incentivizes that. So what are those? So for me, when I do side hustling, so I also did freelancing. When chatbot failed, my default was freelancing because I needed one thing that freelancing can give me that none other side hustles can do, which is the restriction of time. I can't do 9 to 5 full 8 hours because my at the end of the day, my default would be my business. So whatever I make on the side should be enough to sustain me as an entrepreneur, so that I don't have to depend on my business to thrive. Because if you depend on your business right away, and it's barely making enough to make it survive, you can't roll over your profits, it's gonna die, right?
Yeah.
So that's why, for example, there are certain businesses like a sari store. A sari store is a nice side hustle if you roll over the profits. But if you're pulling your sachets or whatever 50 pesos all the time, it will never grow. It will just stagnate at that point. So what I also do from a side hustling point of view is I work on a budget. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
educate myself financially. Meaning, all right, so I look at it, all right, what are my expenses versus how much I'm making, or what my family is making. Now, if I'm on a deficit of, say, 30K, I need to find a way how to make that 30K where I'm going to be happy. So what I realized about happiness apparently is that you need to be competent and be consistent about things. Because if you know that you're good at something, you eventually feel good about it. Like, oh, okay, like this is something I'm pretty good at. Then you start liking it, and then when you're consistent, you will reap the benefits. There's no such thing as a side hustle unless you're something selling something illegal, probably. Where it will convert right away and get you the money that you want. Because anything that requires hustling takes time.
Amen. I agree. I think what we're getting here right now in our discussion is that these are just the success ingredients that you need, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're side hustling with a full-time employment, commitment, focus, hard work, anything else that you want to add. What do you think is important, especially for a 20-year-old something age person to actually acquire in terms of as a driver to keep them moving forward, whether with their ambition or with their side hustle.
I mean, I want to go back to that commitment. And I mean, I think that's why Angela Duckworth's concept of grit resonated so much,
Mhm.
because you need to show up even when you don't feel like it. You
Yep.
need to, you need to be there when even when you hate the client. It's really just not flaking and being responsible,
Yeah.
and keeping your commitments. These are all the hard stuff. I think that's not as sexy as being creative and out of the box and innovative. But without those like solid character traits, you're just gonna be bouncing from one thing to another and not build anything significant.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I like the core being commitment, right? So it's almost like
Yeah.
saying, a while ago, we're saying like we need to be courageous. So kailangan lakas ng loob.
Mhm.
So that's one C, I suppose.
Mhm.
Credibility is probably another thing.
Mhm.
Day was saying a while ago that in order for him to do certain things, he has to build up his credentials, study this and do that, and that's where commitment actually follows, because how do you sustain this? Consistency is also very key to
Mhm.
do that. You guys probably went through those cycle all together
Mhm.
in making sure that things are happening for you. Were there
There's
ever a
another
point?
C. There's another
What's
C for
another
that.
scene?
Curiosity. I think that's common with Ron and it's
Oh,
common
oh
with
yeah,
Dave. I mean, they're
yeah,
both like
yeah.
lifelong learners. They just
Yep.
don't stop learning.
It's
Yeah.
And
like
comedy.
encompassing. Yeah,
Hobby.
Comedy.
that's
Have
only for
fun.
you, Ron.
Laugh at
That's
stuff. Yeah.
I
distinctly
got
for
it.
you. We
There
have
you
all
go.
the C's here.
Yep.
Yeah.
But challenge, another C.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What were the challenges that you guys face as you try to achieve what you're going after?
I guess what I'll just take a quick stab. I'm not gonna talk too much anymore. Okay. The challenge always is finding the right opportunity, right? Because not all opportunities, especially if it's side hustling, are created the same. Because at the end of the day, it's the law of supply and demand, right? So the same way I attack opportunities in my businesses, I would also suggest, again, take it with a grain of salt. I'm biased towards my own experiences. Um, Look for blue oceans. When I say blue oceans, these are opportunities that not a lot of people are doing, right? So, for example, if you're selling ube cheese pandesal and there's already 10 ube cheese pandesal selling in your neighborhood, why do you want to be the 11th? Okay, yeah, that's already saturated, right? What I'm saying, blue oceans, you attack an opportunity that there's not a lot of competition, or if there are, there's more than enough room for multiple players to thrive. Because when you attack that opportunity, then you can have a big piece of that pie and it can grow with you. There's still a lot of room to grow. Rather than you copy your neighbor because he's doing it, all of a sudden you're going after the same opportunities, right? And the thing about that is the challenge for those opportunities, they're hidden in plain sight, right? Because if
Mm.
you're following a trend, you're already too late. So you need to really be curious and also search for those opportunities where there's not a lot of people. So, like for example, podcasting. Whoever thought, like, what are you doing, Ron? Why do you have a mic and all that, right? That until things start to become successful, then everybody follows suit. So at first, these opportunities aren't the sexiest. Most of the time, people are gonna ask you what the hell you're doing, right? But if you know that you're getting good at it and there's money down the road that it can fill up that gap that you're trying to fill, then go ahead and do it.
Good, good. How about you guys? Challenges.
Challenges, I will take it from a point of view of someone who's actually working 9 to 5 and actually doing a side hustle, right? I will bring back commitment and say commitment is something very hard to do, right? If you actually are working a 9 to 5 job, your commitment is your contract, right? You committed to your contract. So you have to make sure that you are already delivering the outputs that you need to deliver. Because most of the time, when I see some of my students, they say that, oh, I'm not doing well at my job because of my other side hustles. You shouldn't be doing a side hustle if you're not fully committed to your first commitment, which is your job, right?
Right.
And I always tell them, no, but I want like time freedom, financial freedom. Honestly, if you work, I'm sure Hannah and Ron can attest to this, that 9 to 5 for normal working people, for us, it's 24/7. I mean, suddenly you
Yeah.
wake up at the night and then you're like, oh no, what's going to happen? So
Yeah.
I always say, you know what? The challenges are going to be 10 times more. That's why you have to put in 10 times more the effort that you have to do. If you have to study, for example, I was working as a graphic designer. At the same time, maybe I would spend like 4 more hours every day. I think it would be more of discipline is something that you should put into your life when it's challenged. Discipline to study 4 hours every day. Discipline to actually do the stuff, do the output, whatever you committed to. Make sure that it gets fulfilled, right? So those are the challenges I think that a 9 to 5 person would have willing to start a new business, right? So that's something that I would yeah say because I've experienced that too. It's really hard to balance work life balance. That's why you're hustling. No, mas walang work life balance pag nag-hustle ka.
Not
That's
gonna
correct.
happen. It's work life blend. You just blend
Uh,
it together.
Mhm.
Well, that's really a challenge. I mean, to have the discipline, to develop the discipline, and
yeah,
then for you to be actually to acquire all of that discipline, there's a lot of sacrifices. And I guess that's one of the other challenges we'll be facing as well, right? You want to add to that,
yeah.
Anna, or
For me, I
yeah?
guess lahat ng dinadagdag ko is really the unglamorous part of it.
It is not easy.
I mean, it's just a reality check, really. I think for me, that the biggest challenge is really the responsibility over other people's livelihood as well. And anyone
Mm,
naman kasi who's gonna start a business and has big dreams, eventually you're gonna be an employer, and then you're
mm,
the one who has to make decisions that's gonna affect the lives of families beyond your own. I mean, it's one thing to just worry about yourself and your immediate family, and I think that's already such a huge responsibility. But then when you're responsible also for, you know, at first maybe just one family, then two families, then next you're like responsible for 5, 10, hundreds of families. For me, that's
Mm.
what keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
wow, I feel for you, Anna, and And I know just like what happened in the last 5 months, it's probably a daunting situation for you to actually consider how many people depending on your business. And congratulations, you're not only surviving, you're thriving.
Don't jinx it. We're only
Yeah.
at the 6 months mark.
It's the Burman.
Still got a long way
The
to
very
go.
month.
Claim it, Anna. We
Yeah,
know that
claim it.
people need shampoo during the Burman.
Unless they don't take a bath.
That's the
Oh,
thing.
hindi na iinom
That's
yung shampoo,
true.
di ba?
There.
That's true. That is so true. Anyway, guys, we only have a few minutes. I'm actually surprised at that. Um, just a quick question, and anybody can answer this. How do you bounce back if you have a mistake, failure, uh, dead end? How do you recover?
The word fail is an acronym. And then what it stands for is first attempt in learning. Okay, so what that means is that technically it is the main ingredient of success. And Winston Churchill actually said it, that success is going from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm. However, the thing about failure is you don't eat it repeatedly. The main output of failure is always learning, right? So I always say this quote by Albert Einstein, that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So when you fail, you ask yourself, what did I learn? Okay, again, first attempt in learning, and then you pivot until you get the formula that you can scale. So brush it off. Some failures are not created equal. The someone's really cut a really deep scar, but those scars are meant to remind you what you've learned for the rest of your life, so that you're not going to make the same mistakes again, and also learn from the mistakes and failures of the people around you. Because if you already know that he did that and you did that too, just for the sake of trying it, then you're an idiot. So don't be an idiot. Okay, thank you. All right.
I love it. I love it. I had a former boss before. His name, by the way, was Rick Warren. He told everybody, all his staff, that everybody's allowed to commit one mistake once, because ultimately you should not be repeating the same mistake
Correct.
because you're expected to learn from them. So exactly the same point, Ron. Thank you.
Mhm.
Dae, how do you bounce back from failures or mistakes?
Okay. I would actually, as a researcher, I would cite some data. And I would say I completely agree with Ron. It's just a learning thing that you have to do and really brush it off. It's gonna hurt, yes, but I think emotions should be just understood, and it should be behavior. That's what's important. So what does that mean? You have to actually put in the work. Just to cite some data, Forbes actually did a study, and there's a 30% increase of freelancers in the market from 2018, right? So what does this mean? This might not be popular opinion, but if ever you do fail, a lot of people are saying there's no work out there, right? But the positive side of all these things is that there's always going to be work as long as you put in the work that's needed. And yes, it's an unpopular opinion, but a lot of people that I know, I mean, including myself, I couldn't get work, but I was able to do it because I put in the work. I mean, it's not easy, yes, but is it challenging? Yes, but is it going to bring you happiness? Yes, because the more you're better at something, I think Ron mentioned this a while ago, the more you're gonna be feeling, oh, I'm really good at this. I'm actually helping out people, and that's where the happiness comes from. Not asking head on from the start that am I happy with this? No, that it doesn't work that way. So again, I think there will always be going to be work with the growth of the freelance and gig industry that we are seeing today.
All right. Thank you. That's really encouraging to hear. Anna.
Nothing to add, sir. Ang gagaling na nila eh.
Just buy human
Oh.
nature, these Burmans.
No, those are all
We-
awesome. Yeah, they're all awesome.
You have to say something, Anna, because we need to balance the screen time. I think it's more favorable to have you at front, center,
Sorry,
at
say
some
that
35.
again.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Say that again.
I'm just saying we need to balance the screen time, so you really have to talk because we want to be
Yeah.
on the front
This
and
is yin
center
yang.
most of
We
the time.
need a healthy middle. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, God, gosh, what do I say about failure? I think it's just really all of those things, but yeah, developing that internal strength to be able to pick yourself up again, because I think that's one of the hardest
Yeah,
things that it
true.
you take a blow to your self-esteem, especially when it's a big mistake.
Yeah.
But just cultivating a very healthy self-esteem that allows you to tell yourself that it's a mistake, but it doesn't mean that I'm worthless. It doesn't mean
Mm.
that it's not an attack to your core or to your person. But so I think you need to cultivate that. You need to develop that internal strength even before the failures come in. So then you can draw on that muscle when you need to.
That's it.
That's actually very good advice, Anna. I mean,
Awesome.
you need to have, yeah,
I
it's
try, sir.
awesome.
I try.
No. We need to keep our grounding, right? I mean, without right grounding, which is your core, your purpose and your principles that keeps you intact, you're easily shaken by, just like a global pandemic in during this time. Somebody said that everybody is most about average individuals and companies collapse during a crisis, but great companies or individuals are defined by a crisis. And I think we are also defined by our origin story and by our
Mhm.
whys and why we're here to begin with. Awesome. Grabe, kulang na talaga yung time. But I just want you to actually just say a few words, last words, final words of encouragement. How do they contact you? Since we didn't have time to actually entertain more questions at this point. Day.
Well, you can contact me obviously. I think Instagram would be the fastest because that's a social media I always check. It's at Dae Lee. So if you see my name on screen, that's my Instagram handle. Hmm.
I will contact you after this day,
Oh,
and
thank
we will
you,
be
right?
Oh, we have a budding bromance here.
bro,
That's
man.
awesome to watch.
There you
Yeah.
go.
They
Awesome,
would say
awesome.
Instagram because he's the millennial. So
Millennial. I'm the yeah millennial person.
how about you, Anna?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm the tita, so you can contact me on email. It's Anna, that's double N, AnnaMWilk@gmail.com.
There you go.
All right, wonderful. And you did share a while ago in on our email thread. There are opportunities for human nature for people to side hustle. Is that
Yeah, you can check out our website. We're at humanheartnature.com/buy/reseller. If you want to be a human nature advocate, so it's all there. We've got freebies if you want to sign up today. I think it's only up until November.
Boom.
Ayan, Ron?
There you go.
Nakataon na, Ron.
So,
This is your chance.
this is it. My scalp will feel good. There you go.
Awesome.
No, it's not me. It's my fiance who uses this products. Because me, I just use the leaves all like that and whatnot. Okay,
That's as
I go
natural
direct to
and
the source.
organic.
Yep,
That's the
feed the
most
fig tree.
natural and organic.
All right, for me, it's very simple. I do this on a weekly basis, all this stupid stuff that I usually do. But again, it's meant not to just make you laugh, but to inspire you. So I have a podcast called Hustle Share Podcast. So check it out on hustleshare.com or any podcast app you're listening to, or the Spotify, Apple Podcast, or whatever floats your boat. Just listen to it and follow us in that form. Because again, it's my way of paying it forward. So if you want to learn how to hustle and be inspired, it's not alien. Okay, it can be done. So you just find whatever inspires you and what you think you can do for a very long term, and you'll reap the benefits. So again, Boris, Anna, and Dae Lee, my oppa, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Hey guys, on behalf of Rappler and Salt and Light, thank you so much for participating in this roundtable discussion, virtual at that. I don't know how to summarize our conversation together, but we did say
CBB,
that
you do your CBB. Okay.
let's do this, the C's. Yeah, yeah. Just be courageous, guys. Do it. Like what Anna said, be curious. Make sure that you
Be
check out
comedy.
things. Be committed. And if you want comedy, check out Ron Baetiong Hustle Share. All comedy is there. All right.
There you go.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. And
Appreciate it. Good night. Have a great weekend, guys. Peace.
Thanks,
may you all
guys.
prosper in
Thank you.
everything you do.
Bye.
God bless. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Getting your message across in this highly digitized world is a challenge. You need numerous platforms and highly skilled workers to produce engaging and professional online events. This is why we live. We come alongside you and manage your back-end online event needs, so you can focus on what really matters. Your content. Relate. To amplify and get your message across.